Hi, everyone. Welcome to my Viral Wisdom Day 41. Hi, everyone. It's day 41, and I can't wait to share with you some insights, some perspective on the human condition. Hello, everyone. Tell me where you're signing in from. How you feeling? Give me a word that will tell me your emotional temperature today. What's the emotional temperature? I'm really happy to be with you, really happy to be here. Hi, everyone. I see you all. Eric says he's positive. Hi, Sean, Sheena, Stacy. Hi, Ashley. Maya's feeling good. So, day 41. We are on day 41 of our teaching, and let's dive deeper. So, check in with me, and as I talk, I go back and I read your comments. So, let this be an interactive learning opportunity, but also one that allows you to reflect, not just react, and so that we can have a shared space here of growth. The turmoil this is stirring up, Lisa says. Sue says, missing my parents. I understand. It's so hard. We're all feeling this loss, this discombobulation. We're all feeling the lack of certainty. Alina says, exhausted, massive fight. Definitely. Andrea struggling with a breakup, sadness, and loneliness. This is the time for all this stuff to come to the surface, yes? So today I'd like to talk about what it means to be like water. I always say to myself, when I am in a place of stress, I ask myself, well, what am I resisting? How can I flow? Where do I need to move? And I always try to imagine myself as water that is getting stuck. And I then say to myself, but water doesn't get stuck. Water always finds a way to the path of least resistance. Water always finds a way to adapt. Water always finds a way to go around. Water is so clever, and water flows, and it's energetic, and it keeps moving. And in its silent yet strong way, it just keeps its energy in momentum. And we are energetic beings. The reason our energy gets blocked is because we have boulders within our psyches called the ego of fear, the ego of need, the ego of hunger that needs something from the outside world. And if it doesn't get it, it blocks our energy. So when we learn to dissolve our ego of need, of dependency, of hunger, of thirst, wanting something from the outer world, now the ego dissolves and the water can flow. So my goal in my own life is to look at my egoic blocks. I write in my journal every day or the days that I'm feeling blocked. I take my blocks seriously because I know the block is not just a reaction to my child. It's not just a reaction to COVID. It's going to block my flow. And I'm water and I'm energy and I want to flow. I want to live my day to day in flow. So, how do I flow? So, I make myself, I don't say flow, 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 because that's anti flow. What I do is I ask myself, where am I blocked? Where is my ego getting trapped? What is my fear right now? And our fear is, as I've been talking about fear in all these different ways, is around control, right? We want some control in our lives. We want to control ultimately death. And like I said yesterday, when you realize you can't control death, you can't control the big one that you're trying to control, which means you can't control all its babies, all the different versions of death you cannot control. What are all the other babies of the big death? Control of anything on the outside, control of how people act toward you. You can't control how people act toward you. I know you're trying really hard. You're like, if I look like this and I act like this and I wear this inch heels and I show some cleavage, every guy in the room is going to like me. I'm going to control how all the guys think, or I'm going to control how I feel, because I'm going to make all the women feel inferior. I'm just saying, big, big stereotypes. We're always trying to control the room. We're trying to control how people feel about us. We're trying to control how our loved ones love us. We're trying to control how our loved ones behave around us, especially our children and our partners. We're trying to control, 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 because we're controlling the babies of the big control that we want to have, which is to play God, which is to control our death. And once you realize that you can't control the big one, you can't control life, you can't control death, you are not the God at all. If there is any, you're not it. And once you realize that, then it's a trickle down effect of, oh, I can't even control that on the outside, and I can't control the weather, and I can't control the traffic, and I can't control if there's a bank robber in my bank when I go to the bank. No, you can't control that either. And I can't control my friends and whether they like me, and I can't control whether the group likes me. So the ego said, okay, the ego said to us, don't worry, we know you can't control that, but let's control our families. Look, you control your husband because you're going to bind him in a contract, and you're going to bind your wife in control, and then you'll have children, and then you're going to feel in control. That's why we have children, because finally we have some control. Damn it, didn't have control here, didn't have control there, didn't have control there. The ego said, don't worry. How can we have control? We're going to create this thing called family, and we're going to bring them all under one roof, and we're going to control them. Of course, not everyone. I'm just making humor, but I speak the truth in some aspects. So we're all wanting control. Yes, that's why when you have the bad kid in the house who dares to defy you, who dares to have an opinion, who dares to say things about you, who dares to go against you, you're like, what the hell, you bad kid? Let's label you. Let's slap on a diagnosis. Let's take you to medication, and let's control you, because you cannot control me. I had you, child, to control you, to feel power in this world. And now you've come and you dare to not give me power. You don't bow down and treat me like a queen. What? I'm not your queen? Bad child, right? Let's medicate you. Let's label you. Look at the DSM and find a label. And then you'll say things like, my child was bad and controlling from the minute the child came out, or the minute the child was in my womb, my child gave me a problem. This child, all that this child is a being. But the child takes away our control, we're like that child, right? And same for the partner, the husband or the wife. This, we make a vow, we sign the contract, we're like, now you're mine, you're called my husband and my wife. And then if the husband and wife does something like anything out of the books, out of the norm, out of the contract, the two-line contract, sickness and in health till death, right? All on one line. If you go outside that one line, that's it. Divorce. I don't like you. I hate you. Because we're all looking for control, right? Now we know we can't control our friends, but let me tell you, we can't control them. So we gossip about them. So we talk badly about them behind their backs. So we dump them or we betray them, right? If we could control our friends, we would control them too. We're trying to control the outer world constantly, right? We're trying to maneuver and manipulate how people think about us constantly, right? We always want to look a certain way. That is the ego's way of getting control. And then as we come closer and closer into the home, you know how controlling you are, whether you like to admit it or not. So, control, however, is ego's way of creating boulders in our flow. We just don't realize it. The more we seek control, the more our flow will constantly be blocked, right? So, for example, in a simple way, a woman goes for a jog, right? I said this to you the other day. I was on a walk with a friend, talking to a friend on the phone, and then my ego said, oh, you have a talk at 12, get off the phone and get out of your flow. Why? Because you have to go get ready to present yourself on your talk. And I had a split in my being because my flow was to be with the friend longer, but the ego wanted me to go get ready. So I said, screw the ego, and I stayed in flow. And now I don't get ready at all for you guys. So it set me off on another trajectory, right? So this is how the ego blocks flow. For example, you want to go talk to a group of people. You're so excited to talk about things that you are passionate about. But your ego will say you're not ready, or you don't look good enough, or what will people think about you, or you're not an expert. And so your ego will create, in the ego's desire to control the audience and to control your image in front of the audience, the ego will create boulders. What happens to your flow? You stop. You stop. Correct? So ego is always going to block your flow. And if you want to be in flow, you have to know your ego's rocks or boulders, and begin to dissolve the ego to live more in flow. I guarantee you, all your resistance in life is out of these one of these things I've talked about in these 40 lectures: fear, unworthiness, control, right? It all comes from unworthiness. It all comes from a desire to be loved, a desire to play God, a desire to have power in this world, significance, right? We all want significance because we feel insignificant, because we cannot surrender to our true nature. Our true nature is water. Our true nature is space. Our true nature is dust. Our ego doesn't like those words. Our ego is like, huh? You go be dust. You go be space. Okay? I am. I'm significant. As long as we're choosing to be significant, which is against our true nature, because our true nature actually, sorry to say, very insignificant. Very insignificant. See, this gives me liberation. To you, it may feel very depressing, but I'm offering you liberation. But in order to be liberated, you have to know who you truly are, which is, as I say many times, a speck on a mote on a sunbeam, right? You're like a speck on a mote of a sunbeam. You are the grain on the grain on the grain on the grain of the sand. Once you realize that's who you really are, what? That's who I really am? I'm that insignificant? Somebody could get depressed. Me, or people like you, could go, whoa, what have I been going running after, hungry to be getting some tiara, some medal, some little product, shoes and coat and bag? What? I'm a speck on a speck on a speck on a speck of a grain of sand. When you realize that, it's liberation. It's liberation, because then you also realize that the other person who you're dying to get attention from, your mother or your partner, your child, your boss, they are also irrelevant and insignificant, and a speck on a speck on a speck on a speck of a grain of sand. But they think they're all that, because they're all caught up in their ego, wanting control and significance. I'm significant. Okay? I'm significant. So as long as they're in delusion and you're in delusion, you'll will to both be, I call you both twin beggars, begging for the other one to give significance. Yeah, couples I call twin beggars. You see me? Do you see me? Do you love me? And the other fool is saying the same thing. So we're looking for love from a fool who needs equal love. Like, how ridiculous is that? Two grains of insignificance looking for significance from grains of insignificance. You understand? This is the game of life. If only we could see it, we would laugh a little bit. But we're very serious about ourselves because we are very significant. This is not a joke. So we take everything very seriously because we're so significant. Little do we understand, in the history of the billions of years that the earth has been in existence, we are in the last minute. Okay, we are in the last minute, guys, of significance. So really, how significant are we? The earth lived before us, and it's going to live after us. You and I are not that significant. When you realize that, your ego dissolves. No, your ego dissolves. All my lectures are about you letting go of control and ego. Let it go. There is no control. You're not important. You're not significant. Sorry to say. But once you realize, you let it go. You go, screw it. What am I begging you to look and see me? You can't see me because you can't see who you are, right? You're begging your husband to see you. How can he see you? He doesn't even see who he is because he thinks he's significant. The minute somebody thinks they're significant, they cannot see you. You understand? Because they're an ego. An ego cannot see soul. Only when a person realizes their emptiness, realizes their insignificance, then they realize that all they have is soul, spirit, essence, energy, water, space, dust. Now, when they are in that energy, they can see your soul. They can see your essence, which is just like theirs, space, dust, energy. But as long as they're in significance, that they're all that, they're going to be very pissed off when you don't think that they're all that. Right now, it's ego to ego, control to control, which is what we're doing. We're doing all of that, and we're so silly. So, how to be like water? How to be like water, right? When my daughter is in her ego, she's 17, very much in ego. Yes, all the time. Mom, how ridiculous. Mom, you don't know anything. You were born in India. If I say anything to my daughter about her studies, which trust me, I can do it all with my eyes closed, she's like, you don't know anything. You came from India. And I can see in those moments, she wants significance. She wants power. She wants to show me she's all that, right? Now, fool of a mother, if I was, which I've been many times, I'd be like, huh? How dare you tell me I'm from India? I've been in this country for 22 years, 25 years, okay? And I can be, I'm significant. Why? Why would I do that? I'd only do that because I'm an idiot, because I'm blind, because I think I'm significant. She's right. I'm from India. She's right. I'm from Mars. She's right. I'm from Jupiter. She's right. I'm tall. She's right. I'm short. She's right. I'm white. She's right. I'm black. Whatever she says, I'm right. She's right. Why? Because it doesn't matter. It's only the form. But if I think I am white, I am black, I am Jewish, I am beautiful, then anything that pokes my I am now pisses me off. Okay, how? What did you say? What did you say? Did you call me? What did you call me? You call me Indian? I'm not Indian. Mom, you're Indian. Yeah, but I think you're insulting me, so I don't like how you're talking to me. That sounds so silly because I think I'm Indian. How deluded. I'm not Indian. I was just born there. That doesn't make me that. Similarly, it doesn't make me anything. You can be anything you want. You are water, your energy, your space, your air, but you have to really evolve into that, yes? Because we are very attached. And as long as we're attached, we take everything very seriously. When you stop attaching and you're like, oh, I'm just dust. And what am I? This is all a game. This form is just a momentary disguise of dust. Actually, I'm dust pretending to be all that. When you evolve into that, you you enter the path of liberation, more and more liberation, more and more liberation. So this is what I teach. And if you want to learn more, you can buy a course for 50% off. There, 50% off for another 10 days. And then I'm going to have boundaries, and which I'm terrible at. And I'm not going to have extensions. Okay. I'm just warning you. That's it. So I want to read to you from the Tao, because the Tao is a book about flow. The Tao is a book about energy, about who it is you really are and have forgotten. So the Tao Te Ching is actually written as Tao Te Ching. So the Tao obviously thinks it's all that because it takes itself very seriously. It doesn't call itself Tao Te Ching. Call me Tao Te Ching. Fine. So that's what the book is. Somebody's already posted the link to my courses, and somebody will post the link to Stephen Mitchell's translation of the Tao. So I'm just going to read you the verses that are about water, how the Tao talks about being like water. So, verse number 8, I think. Yes, verse number 8 in the Tao Te Ching talks about how to be like water. So when you're in a pissy mood and you think you're all that and you think somebody injured you and somebody was so insulting, and how could they do that? How dare they do that? How could this happen to me? Right? When you think you're all that and you're really in your little victim, how could this happen to me? Right? This only my children are so evil, and only my husband is so lazy, and only this always happens to me. When you think like that, you've forgotten that you're just insignificant and it's happening to everybody. Sorry, you're not special. Then go read the Tao. Okay, verse number 8. So verse number 8 says, "The supreme good is like water, which nourishes all things without trying. It is content with the low places that people disdain. It's like the Tao." So water always goes to the lowland. No, water will always go, but there's always a slope. No, that's why all your homes, gardens have slopes. You can't see them. Why? So water can go to the gutter, right? Water is content going to the low places. Look at the symbolism. Water is content going to the low places because water is so smart. Water is like, I want to go where it's easy. So it's got the whole world at its feet. Water is so smart. Water is like, if you don't create me the lowland and make it easy for me, I'm going to fuck up your whole living. I'll create a flood. So the whole world bows down to water's nature and creates slopes. But understand the symbolism of it. Yes, water is like, if you don't want me to flow, I'm going to flood you. So my nature is to flow, and this is the essence of who it is we are. We are made to flow, but no, nobody wants to be low. You see, the ego is like, no, I don't want to be low. So then the ego will screw you up. Water is like, okay, if you don't let me flow, the essence is not flowing. Ego wants to block me. I'm going to flood it. Where we have to flood, which is what we're doing. We're flooded in suffering and misery because we refuse to go to the low places. We think it's a surrender, you know. So the first thing I've learned in when people have big egos is to go, you're right. Boy, you don't fight with ego. You know, you don't waste your time in madness, right? Do you fight with Trump? Really, honestly, would you fight with Trump? No, you'd be a fool if you fought with Trump. You just have to go, you're right, you're right, yeah, you're right, right? Where's the crown? Where's the crown? I don't see the crown on your head. What? Melania didn't put the crown on your head today? How dare she? Right? Right? Because you know you're talking to the toddler king, right? You have to allow the toddler king to be the toddler king. Do you fight with the toddler king? No, you don't. You'd be silly if you did, right? That's wisdom. But to be that wise, you have to be willing to know how to flow. Be willing to go to the lowland. Don't look at it as a release or an abnegation of power. Look at it as like wisdom. We don't fight, we flow. We go where the flow is. So, verse number 8 continues. In dwelling, it says, live close to the ground. Live close to the ground. You know, so even in my home, I don't like big homes because I want to be close to the earth. I want to be able to run out of the structure straight into nature, right? So I always, in my life, try to create homes that are flat. Like I don't like big, I don't want to walk down to the earth. I want the earth right there. That's just me. Yeah, don't, it's not a judgment about anything, but it speaks to this metaphorical desire to be close to earth, right? I want access to the sun. I want access to air right away. I don't want to be claustrophobic. You know, I used to see a client. He used to be 12 years old at the time. Now he's 18 or maybe even older, and he lived in a penthouse overlooking the Hudson River in Manhattan. Rich beyond rich parents. And whenever he used to come to my house, which was a simple house in Great Neck, but it could have access to the garden, and he used to say, oh my God, now I can breathe. I can breathe in your house, Dr. Shefali. And I'm thinking, you fool, you live in a penthouse overlooking the Hudson. Like who could, like you live like in royalty. And he used to call it a glass cage. He was like, no, that's a glass cage. I want to live next to the earth. He understood this, right? Fool child did not understand he was so wealthy and privileged. So in dwelling, live close to the ground. In thinking, keep to the simple. In conflict, be fair and generous. In governing, don't try to control. In work, do what you enjoy. Simple. In family life, be present. When you're content to simplify and simply be yourself, don't compare or compete. You will get the respect that you want, right? The more you want the respect, the more you're not going to get it because you're going to be a fool hungry for respect. So that's verse 8. And then verse 39 is beautiful in this aspect too of being like water. How can I be like water? How can I be like water? How can I flow, right? What am I resisting? Why am I resisting? What is my ego trying to resist? Okay, verse number 39. In harmony with the Tao, the sky is clear and spacious. The earth is solid and full. All creatures flourish together, content with the way they are. Now look at this line. Endlessly repeating themselves, endlessly renewed, meaning content with death. They know, endlessly repeating, endlessly renewed. When man interferes with the Tao, this so called man that you and I are, Homo sapiens, so smart. When we interfere with the Tao, the sky becomes filthy, the earth becomes depleted, equilibrium crumbles, creatures become extinct. This is the nature of the Homo sapien, yes? So non sapien, in my opinion, sorry to say. We don't know how to live like animals, like real animals who live in consort, in interdependence, in nature. We have messed it up. Why? Our ego. The master views the parts with compassion because he understands that the whole is more important. What is a gestalt? Gestalt is the sum is greater than the parts. If we don't see the whole and we only focus on ourselves, the ego, the parts, we miss the forest for the trees. It's so important that we understand the whole, not the moment. Don't raise your child, right? Raise the adult. Don't care about this moment. This moment is a speck of the 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 speck. You're focusing on this C grade or this moment, this tantrum. There's a whole picture you need to look at, and we forget. His constant practice is humility. He doesn't glitter like a jewel, but lets himself be shaped by the Tao, as rugged and common as stone. Look at water. Water takes the shape of whatever container you put it. Water is so humble, it says, okay, okay, okay. Like I said yesterday, show up. Just show up. Now you're in a square container? Square. Rectangle? Rectangle. It doesn't mean you don't have will. It just means you have wisdom to not fight, to not resist. You have no ego. So you're like, okay, today's a day that the rain is going to keep pouring down. Okay, I show up. Today's a day the weather is gorgeous, gorgeous according to culture. I show up. Today my kid is having a damn tantrum all damn day. I show up because I'm not in ego that says it should be a certain way. Damn it, because I'm entitled to a certain day. No, it's humble. Okay. Water is humble. Water takes the shape of whatever container you put it in, right? Well, you don't hear water saying, no, I only want to be put in a glass container that is pointy with 17 sides. No, it goes. And you cannot survive without water. Same for air. Do you see air ever saying, I don't like this house, I'm out? Air just goes, flows. This is it. Wind flows. Wind tunnels, they just flow. Nature is always in flow. It's us, our ego, that is anti flow. It's the Homo sapiens ego more than the animal's ego. It's the Homo sapien that is so messed up because of our ego. So the master doesn't glitter like a jewel. He lets himself be shaped by the Tao, ready to be as rugged and common as a stone. The Tao doesn't seek to be special. You're not special. You may be unique. Sure, you're unique. You ain't special. Sorry. Sorry, people. And then the last verse that I want to read is 78. It's also a lovely verse from the Tao. Pausing, quiet. Take a pause. 78. Okay. It says, nothing in the world is as soft and yielding as water. Yet for dissolving the hard and inflexible, nothing can surpass water. The soft, you see, always overcomes the hard. The gentle always overcomes the rigid. Everyone knows this is true, but few can put it into practice. This is what I teach in conscious parenting. Total pushover parenting, it's called. It looks like it's a total pushover, but it's not. It understands the soul of our children. And no one likes my style of, not no one. Many traditional parents don't like my conscious parenting technique because it feels like it's capitulating to the child. But it's just capitulating the ego of the parent. And it looks so weird because it's not what is traditionally taught. It's all about release and surrender and understanding and healing and being soft and yielding. It comes from a completely different place. But I know because I try to be a conscious parent, I'm called a pushover all the time by the one who is advantaged by the pushing over, aka my child. My child goes, Mom, you're such a pushover. I go, I know. Call it what you want, but really what I'm pushing over is my ego. Therefore, the master remains serene in the midst of sorrow. Evil cannot enter his heart because he has given up helping. because he's given up being the helper, being the role. He's given up controlling, trying to control. He is therefore of the greatest help. True words seem paradoxical, right? It's anti tradition. It's counterintuitive. It's true words seem paradoxical, but I understand, you understand. It's against culture though. Culture has taught us to be tough and hard and da, 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 da. And the Tao teaches us and nature teaches us you're just a fool if you are. You're just a fool if you are. The real wisdom is surrender. The real wisdom is only understanding that we are dying. And that's how we live, right? It's in the paradox, it's in the understanding, right? So when I say to you, the greatest significance you can have is when you understand you are completely insignificant. Your greatest relevance is in understanding you are irrelevant. Your greatest freedom is in understanding you have no control, right? It's always the paradox because nature is always in a flow that is against culture. So culture and nature are against each other. So you have to choose going nature's way or going culture's way. It's a choice. Okay, everyone, thank you for joining me. And take my courses if you want 50% off. I teach this stuff ad nauseum, 52 hours at a time, in depth, especially the course called The Awakened Heart. I think that course really resonated with my own epiphanic final awakening at the age of 44. I did it 4 years ago. And that course, I think, is the one you should take if you want to understand how to be more out of your ego. Okay, everyone, thank you for joining me. It's been a pleasure. See you in the next moment I see you.